Welcome, everyone, to the Daily Juice Podcast on the Betting Pros Network. I'm your host, Sean Stacking the Money Green. Give me a follow on Twitter at Sean T. Green. And as always, Daily Juice is being brought to you by BetMGM. Use a promo code JUICE, and the $10 bet turns into $200 if either team scores a touchdown. Good for college and pros. Don't recommend it, like I said, for Thursday night football. All right, let's get to it. Oh, my man, was really I spit in the gambling god's face by bragging about what a nice run I was on and how I was doing really well, and then get worked in college and get worked in the pros. NFL 0-4, down 8 units, down 4 units for the week only because I was up 4 units even with that bad college day. Hey, we'll get it back, right? That's you're up some days, you're down some days. Let's balance it out. Let's get some dubs. We're going to rapid fire through the loss recap and then get to the prop bets for Monday Night Football. And as always, I'll be dropping in some first touchdown bets, bettingpros.com/chat in the Daily Juice Discord. If you guys like to tail along, those are always fun. All right, first up, Pittsburgh Steelers. They just got destroyed, 38-3. I was thinking, hey, maybe a look ahead spot for the Bills. And maybe the fact that, that the Steelers beat them first week last year, or just maybe the fact that the Bills are really awesome and the Steelers suck. Those bombs to Gabe Davis. Wow. That one where Josh Allen, they were on their own 2 or 3, and he uncorked it. Man, everything's going great right now for the Buffalo Bills. Look like the best team in football, minus my Philadelphia Eagles, of course. We'll get to those that team later. Seahawks, they lost. I had them on the money line. I'm glad I played them on the money line because they didn't cover, so I wouldn't have had to worry about that. Taysom Hill dominated us. On the Sports Gambling Podcast, we always joke that Taysom Hill is the coach's son with Sean Payton, and that's like why he was getting all the playing time. But I don't understand why Taysom Hill is good or scores touchdowns. I just can't wrap my head around it. He looks like a guy. He's got that like elbow sleeve. He reminds me of a guy that you show up at a rec league game and no one even thinks to double team this guy, and then all of a sudden he just goes off and lights you up, and at the end of the game you're like, how did we lose to that team? And they're like, that Taysom guy kept hitting threes. I don't understand how he's this effective as a runner, as a passer. I just don't get it. So shout out to the Saints. They really needed that one, but Seahawks offense is kind of frisky. So again, maybe Pete Carroll was being hindered by Russell Wilson. Kind of makes you think. Browns, oh my God. You had it. Yeah, 54-yarder. Come on, Browns. I blame and the handicap in the game, I don't feel horrible about. I thought they'd be able to run the ball, push them around, which they were able to do. The Chargers there, you just got to hit that field goal at the end of the game. I mean, Browns, what are you doing? Of course, when I'm on the Panthers week 1, trot out a guy who hits a 58-yarder. But now when I'm on you, the Browns, you can't hit a 54-yarder. What are you doing to me, Browns? Again, some of it's my fault for the pick, but I think if we're being fair, the large portion of the blame belongs to Brownie the Elf. Hashtag remove Brownie the Elf. We can't do this anymore. Philadelphia Eagles get the win, don't get the cover. Did a part of me root for that field goal to go in so they could go to overtime and get the cover? Honestly, no. I was nervous about that game. Back and forth affair. Kind of a gutsy win there by the Eagles. Arizona is just not good at home, and that offense has some serious issues. So, fortunate to get the win there. It was a good game. I was there live. I don't know anyone who watched the game on TV. It was just going nuts with Eagles fans. Honestly, I tweeted out the video at Diehard Eagles 52, my Eagles podcast. When they kicked the field goal, I was recording that play. I heard all these cheers, and for a brief second, I thought, "Oh man, the Cardinals got that field goal." And then I quickly saw the Eagles fans and everyone else reacting and go, "Oh wait, no, he missed it." And it was just the place was going nuts because it was almost all Eagles fans. Certainly the louder of the fan bases. All right, enough messing around. Let's get to the picks. Before we get to the picks, my pick for free promotions is, of course, the autographed Brandon Ayuk jersey. Just go to youtube.com/bettingpros. Hit subscribe, comment on this very video, and you're automatically entered to win an autographed jersey from Pristine Auction. Kurt and Brandon Ayuk looking pretty sharp. 49ers with a nice win. Should have got down on the Niners. I like that spot. Just felt a little too obvious. You know, sometimes you get in your head with gambling. You're like, it's a little too obvious. Sometimes obvious stuff hits. Don't have to make it a science project and overthink, oh, well, but the public's on this, and then just play the best plays. All right, first up, I'm going to give you 3 prop bets and then a 2-unit play on the side. First up, Derek Carr over 7.5 rushing yards, -115 over on DraftKings. His last 4 games, 0 yards, 9, 17, 40. Seeing a trend here. Quarterbacks do go in waves, I feel like, of how willing they are to be a runner. And Derek Carr certainly, I think right now, the way the season's going, as they've gotten more desperate, he's more willing to run. I think they're a pretty desperate team here. And I think that's something to factor in. Like, I always like taking over rushing yards for quarterbacks in the playoffs as well, because, again, backs against the wall, they have to run the ball. And I think Derek Carr will feel that on this Monday night. And again, 7.5 rush yards. You can hit this in one play. And it's Monday night. They're desperate. Big stage. I think he's going to have to run a couple times. And we're going to get the over 7.5. Next up, Derek Carr interceptions. Over 0.5 interceptions. -120. Get that over on a DraftKings. In 16 games in his career against Kansas City, he's thrown 17 picks. So, averaging a little over 1 a game there. He didn't throw a pick last game. I just don't think Derek Carr can go back-to-back games with this Raiders offense the way it, and I don't know, like the Raiders offense, it has some moments. Certainly they did some things right against the Broncos, but as we've learned, the Broncos are insane frauds, so maybe not as much as on the Raiders and more on the Broncos defense, but I think he's going to throw an interception. I love playing these. Again, these one-play props that you can hit, it just makes the primetime game so much more exciting. And at the end of the day, yeah, it's about winning. Yes, it's about making money, but it's also about just making football more awesome, aka betting on it. Hey, if you guys been to bettingpros.com/NFL props, highly recommend heading over there. Tons of projections, tons of analysis. If you're betting NFL props and you have not checked that site out, you are doing yourself a disservice. All right, bettingpros.com/NFL props. Next, I've had good luck with these so far this season in primetime games. Give me Daniel Carlson over 1.5 field goals. That's over at -110. The primetime NFL games, it's just been all unders, a lot of field goal kicking. Carlson 12 for 12 this season. I like the idea of the Raiders defense at least being familiar enough with the Chiefs that they can slow them down a little bit. And I don't know, like I know Andy Reid might get cute and they might go for it a couple times and not settle for field goals, but I still think the Chiefs will be able to move the ball between the 20s. I think the Raiders red zone defense, amazing, no, but I think they can force them at least to kick 2 field goals. So Daniel Carlson over 1.5 field goals, -110 over on DraftKings. Last but not least, give me the Oakland Raiders. That's a pretty poor bourbon, but Raiders 7.5 you can get right now, -115 over on DK. Give me 2 units on that at the Chiefs here. This is a classic sandwich spot for the Chiefs. The sandwich spot is that middle game, right? So you have the piece of bread on one side is playing the Bucks last week. You have the piece of bread on the other side playing the Bills next week, and of course, this piece of meat in the middle, the Raiders. Like it could be easy. I know it's a division game. I know it's Monday night, but it's a short week. The Bills are just hanging out there, only 6 days away. I could see this Chiefs team maybe looking a little past this Las Vegas Raiders team. Raiders also get their center, Andre James, back. This little nugget's pretty good, courtesy of Action Network. Chiefs have struggled against number 1 receivers in general. They're 29th in DVOA against number 1 receivers. This feels like it could be a really good game for Davante Adams. I didn't play any of his props because his numbers were pretty high, but I think that's good for the game itself. Raiders have been the second unluckiest team as well. If you're looking at the expected wins versus what they actually have. I mean, 4 games in, and they're 1.22 wins below expected, which is pretty big. Again, considering how small the sample size is, I think they're due for a couple breaks. I mean, you saw that game against the Cardinals. Like, they just had everything go wrong. I don't think they're that bad. Last little nugget here, the Raiders defensive coach, Patrick Graham, who was with the Giants previously. Giants had a nice game plan for the Chiefs when they played Mahomes in Arrowhead last year, holding them only to 20 points. So will they completely shut out the Kansas City Chiefs? No. Can they hold them maybe to 23 points? And you got like a 21 to 23 game, something like that. I think that could really happen. So that's what I'm on for Monday Night Football. Raiders plus 7.5 for 2 units. Daniel Carlson over 1.5 field goals. Derek Carr over a half interceptions. And Derek Carr over 7.5 rush yards. That'll do it for the show. You guys know what to do. Follow us on TikTok at Betting Pros. Follow me on Twitter at Sean T. Green. Check out my other show, Sports Gambling Podcast. And as always, subscribe, rate, and review. And of course, don't forget to let it ride.